Good evening and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My co-host, Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour at the beginning of our local shelter-in-place order to help people stay connected, just like we're sitting around the campfire. And so here we are, several home haircuts later, still sharing our stories together. Welcome back to those returning and welcome to those joining us for the first time. As always, we have two writers reading for their favorite nonprofits. Tonight's readers are Tom Marcinko and Tonya R. Moore. If you are fortunate enough to help others during this time, please consider a donation to one or both of our featured nonprofits, Planned Parenthood and Centerstone. Tom Marcinko is reading for Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood delivers vital reproductive health care, sex education, and information to millions of people worldwide. Planned Parenthood Federation of America is a registered 501c3 nonprofit. Donations are tax deductible to the fullest extent allowable by the law. You can learn more at plannedparenthood.org. Tonya R. Moore is reading for Centerstone. As one of the nation's leading not-for-profit providers of behavioral health services, Centerstone strives to offer the latest evidence-based services to patients, improve care coordination so as not only to improve patient outcomes, but also improve patients' experiences in receiving care. Centerstone advocates for policy solutions that seek to ensure that patients in need of urgent mental health and addiction care can obtain the help they need when they need it. You can learn more at centerstone.org. If you are here on Zoom, please feel free to leave your camera on. I know that we had a few people in the waiting room. We might want to give that a check, Daniel. It's very nice for readers to actually see the other people in the room, which is why I say this. No one has to keep their camera on. Do chime in on the text chat if you like. And if you're joining us on Facebook, thank you, but we're not seeing your messages in real time. So our first reader tonight is Tom Marcinko. Tom Marcinko's short fiction has appeared in Rosebud, Interzone, Realms of Fantasy, Science Fiction Age, Ellen Datlow's late and lamented EventHorizon.com, and other venues. Many of the stories are collected in the Kindle volume Astronauts and Heretics. He is trying to put together a website so you can read the stories without Amazon getting any more of your money. Ooh, we have an update to this, right, Tom? Because you actually went ahead and put some on Curious Fictions.
Two of them.
We appreciate that. We'll drop a link in the chat for that. He is shopping a novel, writing another one, and getting cliffhangingly close to earning his master's in humanities. He writes plays too, and one of them won a damn award. He lives in Queen Creek, Arizona, and haunts Twitter as Tom Marcinko 2.
Thanks, Laura, and thanks, Dan, and thanks, Tonya. It's really nice to meet you. And I really appreciated this venue. I was hoping to have something new to read because I've been writing more short stories since I've been showing up here, but I haven't had any published yet. So I had a 3 a.m. moment about whether I should read this story or not. But I'm gonna do it just because it just seems fitting at this point in our political cycle. And it was published in Realms of Fantasy back in 2010. And before that, an earlier version was published in a British anthology called New Writings in the Fantastic. I'm going to read the shorter, tighter version that Shauna McCarthy published in Realms. And I guess I should say that a lot of people have found the story kind of offensive. I am not putting down anybody's God. I am speculating about what some people's God seems to be like, if that makes sense. It's speculative fiction. And yes, I did write it after watching a Republican convention. So here goes. It's called A Close Personal Relationship. 5 years into Junior's surprise visit, Ted got a call in his cubicle at the Department of Traditional Family Values. It was Clara of Assisi, patron saint of television, since her appointment to that post by Pope Pius XII in 1958. Ted recognized St. Clair's phone icon immediately, but who wouldn't? Her late night talk show had been a hit on all 10,057 American channels since Junior's return to Earth. Ted felt his teeth grind, but he turned it into a smile. He couldn't stand her show. It was so loud and happy. But of course he had to watch it. Everybody did. St. Clair beamed a beatific smile. Ted Stefsky. Yes, Ted's mouth dried up. Good news. Your interview is this afternoon. Something inside Ted turned to ice. His tongue felt like a dirty gym sock. It stuck to the roof of his mouth. 3 o'clock, said St. Clair. Your place. She leaned closer to the screen. This is your lucky day. I'm fishy. Max, he said. Think nothing of it, St. Clair replied. Good luck. She logged off. Ted's heart trip hammered as he called up his next appointment calendar and canceled everything. Next, he went to email Kevin, his boss, to let him know he was leaving the office early. But Kevin must have known. Call me, K, read the email waiting in Ted's box. He rang up Kevin, whose bright-eyed, smiling face sported a new beard in imitation of Junior. He had had his interview last month. Since then, he talked of little else. Looks like it's time to meet the big man, Kevin said. Congratulations. Thanks. It didn't surprise Ted that Kevin knew. All post-interviewees seemed to be of one mind. Nervous? Hey, I can understand that, but you've got nothing to worry about. My interview went great. I came out a new man. It seemed to Ted that Kevin hadn't changed much, but then Kevin had always believed. He joined the department in the beginning, 10 years before, back before Junior's return. It seemed like a long time ago. Relax, said Kevin. You've been a model employee. Yes, Ted thought, model employee. Great. Ted's oil burner was parked at the far end of the bureau's lot. He covered his mouth with his breathing mask and began the long walk. No point in environmental regulation these days. Junior actually ordered them repealed. He considered them a personal affront to his dictum about using up the world. Ted remembered the broadcast. My father gave you this planet to use up. You're saving it as if there was actually war tomorrow? Your lack of faith wounds me. See? And he'd held up his bleeding stigmata for a global audience of billions. You couldn't help but believe. Ted would be found out. Everybody was sooner or later. Sure, Kevin had been a believer from day one, but not everybody. Tyrone in accounting had been a rabid atheist. Tina in word processing had thought Junior was a space alien in disguise. After their interviews, they'd come out perfect believers. Ted didn't want that to happen to him. Why, he could not say. Surely it would be a more comfortable world if he did it a little better. He wondered what happened to the Jews and Muslims, Hindus and Buddhists. Ted was the kind of guy who worried about such things. As he revved his federally mandated 32-cylinder engine, the radio automatically exploded to life with a department-sponsored broadcast. You could turn it down, but not off. He punched in his destination as the car roared out to the freeway. One of the department spokesmen lectured the audience about the folly of pre-junior societal behavior. As if anybody alive now dared to advocate gun control or birth control or equal rights for gays, lesbians, bisexuals, transgendered people, or teaching evolution. He took a halcyon light from the glove compartment, choked it down without water, leaned back into the driver's seat and closed his eyes. Sooner or later, everybody had an interview with Junior. Everybody. This wasn't the second coming Ted had expected. As a child, Ted tried hard to be devout. He loved Junior with all his heart and considered him a close, personal friend. He prayed to him whenever he was in trouble, when his mother lay dying, when his father kept hitting the bottle. Ted didn't always get what he asked for, but figured there must be a reason. Ted remembered the day his faith began to desert him. It was 20 years before Junior's surprise visit, when the people in gray came to take away his copy of The World We Live In by the editors of Life magazine. He was in 5th grade, book before classes began, lingering over a panoramic fold-out page showing the age of dinosaurs. The men in gray casually strolled into the room, a whispered discussion with the teacher and grew loud. People in gray showed papers and badges. Miss Clement bit her lip and nodded grimly. Ted froze as her footsteps clacked towards him in a classroom now otherwise silent. Ted, she said, leaning over him, speaking quietly but urgently. Okay, seems like my connection momentarily, but hopefully you can all hear me. I'm just going to continue. I'll just
I
back up
can
a
hear
minute.
you now, but I
Ted,
think we lost maybe a paragraph or so. If you could back up a tiny bit.
Yeah, your
we'll do
connection
the
is a
sure
little bit
thing.
janky, Tom.
Yeah, sorry about that. It says I'm
frozen for
getting.
you.
Says my connection is unstable. That's not the only thing that's unstable here. Um, he was in fifth. Okay, I'm going to back up. He was in fifth grade, devouring the book before classes began, lingering over a panoramic fold-out page showing the age of dinosaurs. The men and women in gray casually strolled into the room and had a brief whispered discussion with the teacher. Ted didn't notice till the whispering grew loud. The people in gray showed papers and badges. Miss Clement bit her lip and nodded grimly. Ted, she said, leaning over him, speaking quietly but urgently, that book is overdue from the library. And that book was The World We Live In by the editors of Life magazine, in case that got lost. But I just checked it out yesterday, Ted said. She leaned closer. Ted, I'm going to have to take the book now. You can check it out again later. Ted looked up at the men and women in gray. They nodded and smiled at him. Their smiles were very, very sweet. Later, Ted tried to find the book again, but it had vanished from the school library and the town library, too. In this place were books about Noah's Ark and Jonah and the whale and the Tower of Babel. The pictures were nice, but it wasn't the same. He just didn't get it. There were a billion copies of the Bible in print, and very few copies left of the world we live in. Where was the threat? He read blurry Xeroxes of forbidden texts. He collected pages on dinosaurs, on astronomy, on evolution. Sometimes he hid them under the bed and read them with a flashlight, blankets pulled over his head. Ted concluded that if Junior really did return to Earth, he would have nothing to do with the people who acted in his name. Now, Ted wondered if there were any nice people in hell. The dashboard clock read 2:54 when Ted's sixth door pulled into his driveway. Junior was sitting in Ted's favorite chair. He wore an expensive three-piece blue pinstripe suit. His ash blonde hair was combed back, parted and tied into a ponytail. His beard was neatly trimmed. He'd put out a few pounds since his return to Earth. He wore several rings on each hand, including a pinky ring on his right. Ted wondered how he'd gotten past the house's security system. A miracle, Junior replied to Ted's unvoiced thought. Junior shrugged and looked at his fingernails. What else? Sit down. Ted sat. Now that they were face to face, he felt strangely at ease. He had spent the last 5 years hiding what he really thought. Punishment was close at hand. Junior said, I'm not here to punish you. I shouldn't expect you to give me a reward, Ted said. He was getting tired of hiding his thoughts. What difference did it make now? Junior leaned forward. His ice blue eyes burned like distant stars. You don't like me, Ted, do you? Ted reached for his collar and loosened his tie. He was not sure what he'd expected, but this was not it. I'm not sure I know what you mean, Ted replied. Junior sighed and stood up. He put his hands in his back pockets and began to pace the room. I mean, it's not a question of belief, he said. I've brought peace and prosperity to the world. This is an age of miracles. You can't help but believe I exist. That choice I've taken away from you. But you don't believe in me, do you? Ted stopped and looked Ted. He stopped and looked Ted straight in the eye. Ted said, I don't suppose it would do any good to say, Junior whirled around, that you've been good. Yes, you've kept all the outward signs of belief, but the time has come for you to give us more than just your obedience. Ted swallowed. Isn't obedience what you want? Junior smiled, stuck his hands in his back pockets, looked at the ceiling, and rocked on his heels. Well, outward signs of obedience are fine, Ted, especially for Catholics. But we're not Catholics, are we? I'm certainly not. Ted wiped his palms on the upholstery. Then what is it you want? Oh, I don't know, Ted. You tell me. Like, oh, take a look at this. He pointed to a picture on Ted's wall. Ted had burned it for his own protection 5 years ago, but now it was back. Something he kept above his desk when he taught Intelligent Design 101 and slipped bright kids blurry photocopies about Darwin without written permission slips from their parents. The picture was a framed print of a famous 16th century woodcut. It showed a scholarly type poking his head through the dome of the heavens, staring in wonder at the gears and wheels of the greater cosmos beyond. This, Junior said, fucking offends me if you want the truth. Well, I don't see why. It's only a picture. It moves anyway. Eh, Ted? What do you mean? That Catholic thing again. The church pardoned Galileo. Does that mean I have to? That guy, he fucking offended me too. What did he want? And how had that burned print been returned to his wall? I told you, a miracle. Get used to them. Now, the point is, well, let me put it this way. I expect certain things to be taken on faith out of sheer adoration of me. If I say believe, I mean believe. If I say two and two are five, believe that. Got it? Certainly. Certainly, Junior replied in a mocking falsetto. He pointed to a poster on the wall. And what is that supposed to mean? It was another item Ted had lost a long time ago. It showed the evolution of life from a single cell to simple organisms through dinosaurs, smaller mammals through the apes and hominids, and finally to the modern human being. You love the dinosaurs more than me, he said. You always did. Yes, Ted thought, but I needed to, don't you see? If Junior heard that thought, he did not acknowledge it. He reached into his pocket, removed something small, and tossed it. Ted caught the small toy model of a triceratops. He turned it over and over in his fingers. It was made of blue plastic. The horns bent when he fingered them. This really bothers you? Ted asked, looking up. Not the thing itself, said Junior. What it stands for. What's that? Junior sighed. He flopped onto the couch, stretched out, let his foot dangle over the back. Let me tell you a little story. Once upon a time, there was a son, and he had a very demanding father. His father asked him to do a certain thing, and the son did so, even though he didn't particularly want to. Even though, to tell the truth, the son found this task quite painful. But the son was under the impression that after he did this deed, people would straighten up and fly right. Chiquinia made a spitting noise. Talk about your original dysfunctional family. Yeah, after the big sleep, I sat at the right hand of my father. Not a word from him about all I did for him. Not so much as a fucking thanks, son. Well done. I sat there at his right hand and basked in his radiance, which is like watching paint dry, if you ask me. I mean, that's all it is with him. Me, the great I am. Not that I really got along any better with my mother. I always talked back. I couldn't help it. Everything she said seemed so inane. I think I was angry at her for being such a doormat. So next time, I decided to do it differently. I came back once before in the 15th century. You thought that story was just fiction? Only something that crazy Russian novelist dreamed up? Yeah, I came back for a little visit. I did a few miracles, raised a girl from the dead. The Grand Inquisitor, old cardinal, 90 years old, told the crowd to grab me. They were so used to following his orders that they locked me up. And he told me I had no right to add to what I'd already said. I wasn't going to go through that again, and no more run ins with the law, no more conflicts with the established order. Playing along with the establishment is the one thing I've never tried. Render unto Caesar, to hell with that. Render unto me for once. How's that sound? So I made compromises. I watched their influence grow, and I said to myself, why not? My return has to benefit somebody. Why not them? At first, I didn't feel quite right about it. I was still following those old codependent patterns. I felt guilty. I felt I should be giving. It turned out to be easy. It turned out to be fun. When I think of all that sacrifice, all that blood, well, this time we're going to do it my way. I've bled. Now it's your turn. Ted, confused, gestured helplessly at the Triceratops. Get that thing out of my sight, Junior said. Ted put it in his pocket. Junior shook his head. Not good enough. Look. Ted found himself in his bedroom in the house he grew up in. Laid out before him was all the paraphernalia of his childhood before the people in gray came after it. Models of dinosaurs and books about them, too. A map of the solar system, a chart about the evolution of the stars, a 3-inch reflecting telescope, a toy gyroscope, the visible man, all courtesy of the Edmonds Scientific Company. Ted's heart filled with awe. By bringing him here, Junior was showing Ted how much he understood him. Junior looked at it all and frowned. He shook his head and gave the thumbs down. It's got to go. Ted picked up an Estes model of the Saturn V rocket. All this threatens you somehow? He shook the rocket. Junior shook his head. It doesn't threaten me. It offends me. It threatens you, though. Everything in this room tells me you lack faith. Some people can take or leave a universe that's billions of years old. Some are fine thinking that Allah or Buddha or Vishnu are just different names for the same guy. A few believe zilch, but here I am, and they're like, all like, oh, my mistake. I don't mind them so much. Whatever floats their boats. But you, well, during this visit, I'm demanding a sacrifice from everybody. Some people are giving up sex. Some people are giving up money. Some people are giving up power. Some are just changing their minds. Kevin and Tyrone and Tina in word processing all gave up something. I'm interviewing hundreds of other people right now simultaneously. That's the sort of thing you can do when you're me. And all those people, they're all making the sacrifice because you see, Ted, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Some people, Ted, are giving up a worldview and whatever sense of wonder goes with it. Next stop, Miracle, was the late Cretaceous era. A dragonfly the size of a house cat buzzed Ted's ears. Lizards glided through the air on leather wings. A tyrannosaurus feasted on pink meat, and a patasaur buoyed in a swampy lake. The scene wasn't even accurate, Ted realized. It was the prehistoric bestiary of his childhood, long ago supplanted by theories of quick moving, warm blooded lizards. But it was enough to make him stare in wonder. He spent hours contemplating the dinosaurs, reading about them, drawing them, imagining them mindlessly whiling away their 100 million year afternoon. It was where Ted went in his mind when Dad stumbled home and passed out on the couch, and when the news about Mom got worse and worse. Here, everything seemed friendly and clear, and when the nuns and priests tried to talk him out of this world of wonders and replace it with Eden, Ted always wanted to say, don't you get it? This was a world without sin and evil. This was Eden, or something better than Eden. Jeannie was right. Ted loved the dinosaurs more than he loved him, far more. Ted loosened his tie. He was already soaked with sweat. His feet sank inches into the swamp. Water filled his shoes. Junior, of course, looked air conditioning cool. He knew how to deal with a body of water. He stood right on top of it. He tapped an impatient foot. Junior clapped him on the back. Well, Ted, kiss it all goodbye. You're going to destroy it? Ted's gesture took in the entire modern universe. No, he said, you are. The hell I will, Ted thought, you sleazy, pompous, infantile excuse for a god. Now, is that any way to talk to me, Ted? Me? Isn't it about time that you accepted me as your personal savior, that we had a close personal relationship? You do this to everybody? Ted asked. Everybody with a mind of their own? Pretty much, Junior admitted. Watch. White flecks filled the sky to drift towards the ground. At first, Ted thought it was snow, but as he held out his hand to catch a flake, he felt an ectoplasmic nothingness fall into his outstretched palm. He looked closer. It was a kind of snow, but it was more like video snow. It was blankness, negation. The flakes were getting bigger. The world tapestry before him was filled with holes. Ted looked closer. Junior formed something in his hand. It was a round white object, a snowball packed from the falling nothingness. He leaned back for a long throw and lobbed it hard, straight at the T Rex. The ball splattered and exploded against the creature's head to cover it up like invisible paint. The white nothingness dripped down and blanketed the great gray bulk. Soon the creature was gone. Junior made an even bigger snowball of the stuff. He shoved it into Ted's hands. Toss. I said, toss. I can make you do it. Look. And without will, Ted lobbed the white ball at a docile stegosaurus that munched fronds. The white stuff covered the creature. The stegosaurus vanished. Ted felt that he'd killed a favorite pet. Not one that needed to be mercifully killed, but one that was perfectly healthy. I can make you do it, Junior said again, or you can do it yourself. Your call. Why are you giving me a choice? Why not just make me do your will and be done with it? Because I care, Ted. I care deeply. I want you to love me of your own free will, like father, like son. It's the way we've always run our business, so choose. Yes, Ted thought. Better to do it himself. Better to do the deed to a loved one than to have somebody else do it for you. At least he would remember. He loved one of the Triceratops and a Tyrannosaur. He caught a pterodactyl in mid-flight. He pummeled an ankylosaur. He kept throwing. By the end of the day, his arm was sore. Exhaustion muffled his grief. The universe he'd lived in and loved as a child was gone. In its place was a thing without form and void. Ted took him back to his apartment to regale Ted with anecdotes about how he used to remind Joseph that he wasn't his real father. His face would get all red, especially around the ears, said Junior. That's what I remember. The ears got red as a beet, red as blood. Ted smiled. That's a great story, Junior. Oh, I've got plenty more. He slapped Ted on the back. We're going to be great friends, I can tell. I'm sure too, Junior, Ted said through a tight, bright smile. I don't know what took me so long. It doesn't matter, Ted. What matters is that now we have a close personal relationship. Oh, look who's here, he said as he escorted Ted into the kitchen. All your friends. Kevin was there, and Charlie from accounting, and Tina from word processing. So was St. Clair. Surprise! They draped a banner across his living room. Congratulations on your interview. Junior popped open a bottle of fizzy water and took a swig. Water? He cried in mock surprise. Well, I'll fix that. Laughter all around. Ted just smiled. He noticed a few people he knew but had never met. Jerry Seinfeld, Cat Stevens, Mahatma Gandhi, and Uma Thurman were blending in with the guests. That answered Ted's question about what happened to Jews, Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists. Junior caught Ted's eye. Not so glum, kid, said Junior, throwing his arm around Ted. Everything's going to be great from now on. I'll never leave you now. We'll talk later. By the time the party broke up, Ted found another framed print on his wall. He had not noticed it before. It was done in a 16th century style. It showed the dome of heaven. A man sat beneath it, contemplated the splendor of the skies beneath the dome, beyond which was blank nothingness. The man seemed happy in his little universe. Ted began to wonder if he shouldn't try to follow this example. He never managed to do it. Junior never took him back to the prehistoric garden either. And, like everybody else, Ted lived forever. Thank you. Thanks, folks.
Tom, you never fail to surprise.
Well, that's nice to hear. I always that's what I try. Thanks. Yes, and if you miss any, thank you for posting that. If you missed anything through the technical problems and my unstable connection, please go to my site and read it. Thank you for your attention and for your forbearance on that one. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing Tonya Moore, who has the same first and last initial as I do. That was planned, right?
Would you believe it was not?
Thanks all.
Daniel and I really enjoy all the serendipity and synergy of just slotting people in as in the order that they come in. And I think this is the first time it's happened with names. Usually the stories end up matching a little bit. So I guess we'll see if that happens at all, if there's a common thread. But this is the first time with names. And, our next reader is, as Tom pointed out, Tonya R. Moore. Tonya R. Moore is a Jamaican speculative fiction writer based in Sarasota, Florida. She recently became poetry acquiring editor at Faya Literary Magazine. She offers freelance services such as editing, content writing, and WordPress website installation and personalization. Earlier this year, she published Odes to the Multiverse, an omnibus of science fiction, fantasy, and horror vignettes and short stories. Tonya is the creator and host of Space Age Musings, a speculative fiction podcast dedicated to amplifying BIPOC voices, which will be launching in January 2021. Welcome, Tonya.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. And I really have to say, that was a wonderful story by Tom. I really enjoyed it. Kind of gave me the impression of maybe Vonnegut channeling Bradbury as he tried to write Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's wonderful. I loved it.
That's a great observation. Now I'm eager to hear your
Odds.
story.
All right. So my story is titled Kingdom of Lethe. It is LGBT friendly. I just want to give one slight warning of brief instances of graphic violence in some instances. And without further ado, we'll begin. I don't have any beautiful memories. The woman who uttered these words perched on the cracked edge of Nedra's leather chair with all the grace of a queen of Sheba. She leaned forward. Tiny diamonds crested the curves of her eyebrows, making her over-large eyes seem abnormally bright, almost predatory. It's occurred to me, she murmured, that shouldn't be the case. Nedra peered at her prospective client through bleary, caffeine-deprived eye slits. The woman's eyeshadow was a delicate blend of red and blue, creating a beautifully bruised-seeming hue. Her slightly swollen lips were painted bloody burgundy. She wore a glittery silver sheath of a dress that clung to her delicate bones. The fluffy boa tossed carelessly over her shoulders matched her lipstick to a T. This beautiful creature belonged to the glitz of the upper crust's nightlife. What was she doing here then? In broad daylight, on the dinky outskirts of town? Why'd she come to roost here in this shabby little private detective's office with a leaky roof and brazen rats crawling under the floorboards? Said private detective cleared her throat and crowed. Come again? She'd missed her brain had failed to process the woman's last words. She had a sweet and smoky voice, though. It possessed a strangely powerful timbre, sent a tingly tremor running down Nedra's spine. The woman leaned farther towards Nedra's desk, and the detective got an eyeful of soft mounds enveloped in the delicate fabric of the little bombshell's bosom. My beautiful memories, the nocturnal diva answered lowly and slowly, as if speaking to a child. They're all gone. She eased back into the soft folds of the leather chair. You can help me back. You can help me get them back, yes? Augmented? Nedra queried, just to be on the safe side. Snapping to full alertness, she couldn't help thinking that this woman was perfect, way too perfect. The woman shook her head and eased back, shooting Nedra a lazily confident smile. Not in the slightest. 100% natural, baby. She was born with it, that mind-numbing Nubian beauty. The woman shot Nedra a sugary grin. Call me Anna. And Nedra considered maybe Anna was lying. It wasn't always easy telling transhumans and naturals apart these days. Hell, half the time Nedra forgot her own brain casing and half her heart were mechanical. Still, inexplicably skewed from logic, Nedra's instincts veered toward taking Anna at her word. You couldn't just snatch memories from a natural brain, though, could you? Did that kind of technology even exist? Encountered anyone strange lately? Nedra ventured, for starters. Where I come from, everyone is strange. Nedra's brows shot upward. Where would that be? Bitter, Anna answered. Ever been? Bitter was an enclave located 60 clicks west of the capital. Dubbed the Fey Underground, Bitter's denizens were the uber rich and despots who dabbled in the darker aspects of the technical arts. It was the sort of place where you'd hear disturbing things about from time to time. Ordinary city folk would venture into Bitter, never to be seen again. Sometimes their wrecked corpses would be found days later, floating downriver somewhere. Something else flickered in the recesses of Nedra's mind. There was something important about Bitter. Whatever it was flitted away in a flash, leaving her feeling oddly bereft. No, she mouthed after a few seconds of insecure silence. Never been to Bitter. She switched gears. You're sure those memories were taken? She prodded when Anna said nothing more. You didn't lose them? Drugs, maybe a little accident? I'm sure, Anna insisted, visibly irked at being second guessed. All right, Nedra sighed. I'll take your word for it. She hadn't eaten breakfast, but it wasn't just hunger clawing at the insides of her gut. Her old cop instincts flickered into life. Anna's story was too sketchy, but her desperation made it impossible for Nedra to turn her away. The private detective knew she was rapidly falling prey to the lovely woman from Bitter's hauntingly seductive gaze. She knew it, but she couldn't seem to do anything about it. Caffeine withdrawal and lack of sleep were factors, but she couldn't blame just the brain fog. Nedra didn't quite know why. She just couldn't find it in herself to say no to this mysterious woman. You'll take the case? Anna asked, turning up the wattage on her smile. She's a master manipulator, Nedra thought. The ex-cop turned PI squashed her doubts, though, and flashed Anna a wry smile. A girl's gotta eat and all that, after all. Wow, Anna murmured when Nedra fished an ink pen and notepad from her desk drawer. That's a pretty old-timey way to go about things, no? I like old-timey, Nedra grunted. Tell me about your daily routine. No need, Anna replied. I tend to be very careful about my personal security. But there's a certain nightclub I frequent. It's the only place a snatch and grab could have gone unnoticed. Surprised at the sudden cop speak, Nedra looked up, eyes narrowing. Why's that? Complicated, Anna answered. It's the sort of thing you have to see for yourself. Nedra set her pen down. So scoping out the club comes first. Anna smiled, seeming to like how quickly the detective was catching on. Tonight, you'll be my special guest. Sure, why not? Anna's nose crinkled. She eyed Nedra's weathered leathery jacket and 2-day-old yellow shirt critically. Got anything decent in your wardrobe? Nedra's grin was completely unapologetic. What you see is what you get. Guess a little shopping comes first, Anna mused. Your tab, not mine. Yes, of course, nodded the diva. She stood, tilting her head toward the exit. Let's go. Get on with it then. They went to Daylilies, a boutique someone living on Nedra's budget could never even hope to set foot in within a lifetime. Since it wasn't her own wallet taking the hit, she went along with her client's whim without complaint. And for someone who only just met her for the first time, Anna sure seemed to have a decent grasp on what type of clothes suited Nedra best. The first outfit she suggested was from a famous brand of punk Victoriana couture. Nedra swallowed her trepidation and tried on the long-sleeved white silk blouse with a ruffled lace at the collar and cuffs, cream-colored jodhpurs, and black silver buckled high boots. The mustard yellow high low tailcoat contrasted well with Nedra's cocoa skin and completed the fancy yet somehow fierce affair. She spun slowly, studying her reflection in the dressing room mirrors. She rather liked it, this look, she had to admit. She rather liked it a lot. She tried on the black velvety fedora. She untied her ponytail, letting her curly black, red, and glittery golden locks spill out with wild abandon. Verdict? Came Anna's voice from outside the dressing room. Love it. Honest answer there. No hesitation whatsoever. Fantastic, Anna laughed with almost childlike glee. She slung something over the dressing room door. I'm guessing you'll need this too. Nedra caught the black leather double shoulder holster mid-fall. She frowned. Well, this was unnerving. She hadn't told her client she was sure that when working, she always carried 2 sidearm guns. Evening fell as they entered the domed enclave. Anna's car descended earthwards, thrusters humming as it slid through the opening between massive gates of tungsten steel. The gates were anchored to great stone columns shaped like angels with terrible, sightless eyes. Each angel stood with one arm outreached, silently beckoning as they welcomed all who entered Bitter's cold embrace. Bitter was an eerily enticing alien world. The car eased through a maze of anachronistic cobbled streets, punctuated by the soft glow of methane gas lamps. Anna's car hugged the stony ground, riding side by side with robotic horse-drawn carriages, driven by mechanical men wearing long coats and tall top hats. Nedra glanced upward at the multitude of steam-powered airships and flying cars jostling for room in the high-tech fairy kingdom's abbreviated sky. Masked men, women, and neo-genders wearing punk Victoriana populated the sidewalks. She spotted one buxom lady stalking northward, leading a tiger on a leash. Is that even real? The private detective wondered out loud. Tigers were supposed to be long extinct. Who knows? Anna shrugged. In Bitter, just about anything's possible. The car came to rest outside a tall but squat white building. The balconies of each floor were adorned with lush, meandering hanging gardens. The words Memory Palace were etched on the front sign. The ground opened and the car sank downward into an underground garage complex. They exited and Nedra followed Anna toward a set of elevator doors. Isn't Memory Palace a weird name for a nightclub? Nedra wondered. Anna shook her head. That's my company's name. The business office and labs occupy floors 2 to 10. The nightclub is called The Playground. It occupies half of the ground floor. Oh, Nedra mouthed as they entered one of the elevators. What kind of business is the Memory Palace? Exactly what the name suggests. Anna pressed the button for the ground floor. I made the philosophical concept literal. So you download memories. Nedra glanced over at Anna. From natural brains or just augmented? Both, said Anna. With naturals, it's a bit tricky, but not impossible. If you had a memory palace 3 years ago, who knows? Maybe you wouldn't have ended up leaving the police force. A chill ran down Nedra's spine. She couldn't exactly fault a client who researched her background before hiring her, but wasn't this a bit much? Just how deep into my background did you dig? You took 2 point-blank shots, one to the heart, one to the head. There was a slight, puzzling tremor to Anna's voice. Guess that makes you lucky. Unlucky, and you'd be dead. Nedra shrugged. Kind of sketchy on the details myself. You don't remember. 2 years of my life before, and the first 6 months after, Nedra quipped. Gone like they never happened. Don't you miss it? That life, being a cop? Anna prodded gently. Can't say I don't miss the police force sometimes. Nedra shot Anna a glance askance, wondering why she was probing. Can't miss what I don't remember, though, can I? The private detective forced a cheerful tone. After all, she wasn't exactly interested in making anybody, least of all a client, feel sorry for her. The ground floor of the building was blindingly opulent with marble floors and filigreed gold leaf walls. Anna led Nedra down a long corridor, which opened into a wide lobby. A few armchairs were scattered about. There was a bar. Tess, Anna called out to the bartender, a plump African beauty wearing a red bustier with glittery buttons as they approached. Wow, it's been a while. Tess greeted the pair, eyes focusing on Nedra for a few seconds before darting Anna's way. The bartender's lopsided smile faltered, just enough for her dimples to disappear. She nodded once at Anna, and for a split second, Nedra thought she saw a glimmer of raw fear in the bartender's eyes. What do you have? Cherry bombs. Anna held up 2 fingers. Tess served up what was requested, sliding 2 small glasses of red liquid toward them across the counter. Anna swallowed hers in one greedy gulp. She smacked her lips and closed her eyes. I've been wanting one of these all day. She smiled with the look of a cat that had just gobbled up a canary. Bottoms up, Ned. When Nedra gave her glass a dubious look, Anna leaned in close and grinned. Try it. You'll like it. Nedra's head tilted at Anna's slip of the tongue. Still, she took a tentative gulp. The red liquid went down like a raging fire. Holy shit, she managed hoarsely, eyes stinging and watery. Once she got past the initial burning sensation, though, the flavor was pleasantly sweet. She gamely took another, much smaller sip. There's a good girl, Anna nodded, grinning wildly. Enjoy your drink. I'm going to freshen up. She disappeared into the nearby elevator doors while Nedra nursed her cherry bomb with a grim sort of determination. Nedra swallowed up the last drops of her drink, feeling foolishly proud of herself for managing that much, and Tess retrieved the empty glass. You can wait for Anna inside the playground, she offered. The twins will let you in. Nedra frowned. That cherry bomb was something strong for sure. She was already feeling slightly woozy. What twins? That would be us, came a voice from behind her. Wouldn't it, sis? It would, wouldn't it, brother? Came another voice, which was eerily like the first. And Nedra turned around. They stood side by side, a pale, neo-gendered pair. Which was the brother? Nedra couldn't tell. She managed a tentative smile. The twin on the left nodded and smiled back. The one on the right shot the private detective a snide look and released an eloquent sigh. At least you're somewhat dressed for the occasion. This time. Piqued, Nedra stood. This time? Forgive my brother, said the twin on the left hurriedly, shooting the other a scathing look. He forgets his manners sometimes. The brother's eyes widened, but he seemed to recover quickly and bowed slightly. He gestured toward the side of the lobby, perpendicular to the bar. The pair of double doors over which an ornate playground sign had been hung opened as if on cue. "Welcome to the playground," he said. "Let us know if there's anything your heart desires." The entrance to the playground widened into a cavernous beehive of dance halls and smaller rooms. And Nedra glanced inside as they passed one of the smaller rooms. A small crowd of masked characters had gathered inside. She caught a glimpse of a frail-looking man strapped to a metal contraption shaped like a throne in the center of the room. She stopped in her tracks. Wires spilled from the throne-like machine and coiled along the floor. Clips of random, bizarre video footage was being projected onto 3 of the walls. And Nedra drew closer to the crowded room. "The dream machine can be brutal," warned the friendly twin. "Are you sure you want to watch?" "I'll be fine," Nedra murmured, eyes glued to one of the projection screen. "Suit yourself," said the brother. Attendants wearing gray tunics began attaching wires to the nodes on the helmet cradling the restrained man's head. "They fed him something. Hallucinogens," whispered the sister. The dream machine started up with a whir. The man groaned, gasped, and fell silent. The projection screens flickered wildly. The scenery changed. Then it began. The sickening sideshow. The man's nightmare, a violent spectacle unlike anything Nedra had ever seen, flared to life on the screens. On screen, a bloody beaked gang of gray harpies tore into the man's flesh. He crouched low, flailing uselessly at the spectral attackers, howling in agony. The masked audience was rapt, watching the Promethean scene unfolding before them with unabashed glee. And those closest to the dreamer, strapped to the throne, were wired to the machine. They cried ecstatically. They trembled, they gasped, and they wept. Nedra recoiled, sick to her stomach and shaking from head to toe. They were enjoying it, these sick bastards. She plunged blindly through the degenerate throng, escaping into the hallway. Bile bubbled up into the back of her throat. She swallowed hard, forcing it back down. Her throat felt tight suddenly, tight and dry. What was she just watching? What the hell was that? A passing waiter presented a tray laden with drinks of various colors, and Nedra chose randomly, gulping down the tart liquid in one go. She walked unsteadily and found herself inside a crowded dance hall. And it was even noisier in here than inside that god-forsaken dream room. The dance hall spun. She clung to the wall for support and fought to steady her breath. The large doors on the opposite side of the hall opened. In marched a procession of caged song dolls riding Huda on the backs of mechanical elephants. And the dolls sang a beautiful but terrible song. The masked revelers hooted and cheered, and Nedra's drunken brain couldn't keep up with the clamor. She moaned. The empty glass slipped from her fingers and shattered. Her breath came in rapid, shallow bursts. The room started tilting. Her boots crunched into the broken glass as she staggered sideways. She was going to pass out. A hand grabbed Nedra's shoulder from behind, and miraculously, that grounded her. And she turned around to say thanks, but the words dried up in her throat. Anna had changed into black high-waisted shorts with suspenders, silver buckles, and a frilly-necked white blouse. She changed her curly mass of hair's color from black to electric blue. Translucent fairy wings sprouted from her back. Dainty toenails painted black peeked out from the front opening of her silver-strapped high-heeled slippers. 2 mechanical Dobermans with red eyes and tungsten teeth stood by her side. Anna extended a hand, and Nedra followed where she led. They wound their way through the throng. The music stopped. The dance hall fell. So quiet, Nedra could clearly hear the click click of Anna's heels on the marble floor. The masked revelers followed their progress with rapt attention. Each, Nedra noticed, keeping a careful distance. Fear mingled with awe. She could feel it rolling off them in waves. It was then that she realized if the playground was a kingdom, Anna was its queen. Anna led Nedra to a cordoned off area in the dance hall. She gestured for Nedra to take the seat on her right, and then sat at the head of a massive banquet table laden out with obscenely delectable offerings. Nedra caught glimpses of lobster tails protruding from golden goblets and even a whole roasted pig on a spit. And her belly twisted as a luxurious riot of colors and aromas assaulted her senses. Sinking into the plushness of the chair, she was overwhelmed by an inexplicable sense of deja vu. She'd done this before, sat at Anna's right hand at this very table, she was certain. But how was that possible? Must be amusing my marbles, she muttered under breath. What was that? Something about Anna's innocently curious smile rankled. Nedra shook her head. Nothing. Irritation started to fester. She had yet to see what any of the evening's proceeding had to do with solving Anna's case. The victim herself didn't seem all that keen on getting to the point anytime soon either. Hunger warred with impatience and won. Nedra picked up a ladle and reached over to serve herself something soup-like. She froze mid-scoop when a sudden commotion broke out near the dance hall entryway. The man who'd been strapped to the dream machine came bolting into the dance hall, wearing nothing but a loosely hung medical gown. Movements frantic and ungainly, he advanced. The light in his eyes was deranged but determined. He climbed atop the dining chair at the end of the table. Snatching up a steak knife, he stepped onto the table and he stomped down the length of the banquet table, upending drinks and trampling over uneaten food. Dishes broke and silverware clattered in his wake. His menacing gaze was locked on the head of the table. Nedra's gaze swung toward Anna, who hadn't moved from where she sat. She simply watched the crazed wraith of a man with bright-eyed interest, but seemed otherwise unconcerned. Her mechanical guard dogs stood and started growling, but they didn't budge. Someone screamed. The masked revelers closest to Anna were in a panic. They clamored, tripping and shoving at each other, desperate to flee. They weren't trying to get away from the attacker. It was painfully, puzzlingly clear they were trying to put distance between themselves and Anna. Nedra's gaze swung back to the madman, focusing on the brandished knife. She had to stop him. That singular thought speared into her mind. If she didn't, something awful was going to happen to him. She leapt to her feet and grabbed one of the dining chairs and hurled it at the rampaging man. And the chair knocked him sideways and off the table across from Nedra. She clambered onto the table and jumped over the other side. He'd lost his grip on the knife when he fell and was now desperately scrambling to reach for it. Nedra brought her booted foot down, painfully pinning his dominant hand to the floor. He howled. Was that agony or rage? Nedra couldn't tell. Free me, the emaciated man whimpered, curling up into a defeated ball. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. And the revelers, seemingly startled in silence by Nedra's actions, waited with bated breath to see what would happen next. The mechanical dogs quieted and sat back down at Anna's feet. The neogendered twins and several gray uniformed staff from the dream machine room appeared. The gray ones took the despondent man by the arms and led him away. Irked, Nedra picked up the abandoned steak knife and set it on the table. She looked to Anna. The dark fairy was smiling. You saved my life, Anna murmured. Thank you. No, Anna. Nedra felt a brief prick at the back of her neck, but honestly, she was too annoyed right now to give it any thought. She frowned at her client. We both know that's a lie. Drop the pretenses, and while you're at it, explain why you really brought me here. Anna's mouth twisted wryly. Once a cup, I guess. And Nedra was sure she had some witty comeback to that in her arsenal, but she couldn't seem to summon words. She felt strangely woolly-headed. Her vision wavered in and out. The room swayed. She found herself fighting off a wave of nausea and dizziness, and her legs gave out. The pain of falling on her ass barely registered. An all-consuming darkness slammed down, and Nedra was unconscious before her head hit the ground. That took a while, the mean twin observed. They raised Nedra's body, placed one of her arms around each of their shoulders, and got ready to carry her away. Gently now, Anna warned sharply before turning to face the gawking crowd. What are you all still doing here? The party's over. Get out. Pain tore into Nedra's head, a drilling pain like she'd never known. The back of her eyelids felt like sandpaper. Her tongue felt heavy. The inside of her mouth tasted bitter, metallic. The air stank of antiseptic, stale booze, and burning wire. Her eyes creaked open. Bright lights assaulted. Her eyes slammed back shut. The pain in her head intensified, and she groaned. Lights, someone hissed. Turn them down. Ned, came a gentle voice. A familiar warmth enveloped her hands. Ned, open your eyes. And it wasn't easy. The pain in Nedra's head made her feel as if her brains would start leaking out of her nose. She cautiously opened her eyes. No blinding pain this time. Her vision was blurry at first, then it cleared. Anna was seated next to where she lay, trembling fingers grasping Nedra's hands. She leaned over and asked slowly, do you remember? Nedra blinked and looked up at her girlfriend of 2 years in puzzlement. What kind of question is that? Anna drew in a long, shuddering breath, and she started to cry, confusion growing. Nedra reached up to touch her cheek, and that's when she noticed she was strapped into a curved metal object. Her head was encased in a bulky helmet from which wires protruded. The dream machine. The pain in her head made it hard to think. What manner of madness was this? Anna, what's going on? What happened to me? As if on cue, the walls started to flicker and the scenery playing out was harrowing. Nedra being wheeled down a long corridor on a gurney. Anna perched atop the gurney, frantically keying commands into some device with bloody hands, begging Nedra not to die. A screeching noise that Nedra's brain could only associate with intense pain filled the air. Anna, what is this? Nedra felt wetness at her nostrils. Maybe her brains were really starting to leak out. Anna grabbed a tissue and wiped at Nedra's nose. The tissue came away bloody. Nedra's heart started hammering wildly. The machine started to emit shrill warning noises, and she struggled against the restraints. Why am I strapped into this infernal thing? She ground out. Let me out. I can't. Anna was weeping openly. I have to make you the way you were before. Before what? None of this makes any sense. No, wait. It made sense. If the scenes that I just played out on the walls were true and something terrible had happened to Nedra, and if Anna was desperately trying to make her whole again. How bad is it? Nedra asked. Pretty bad is my guess for you to put me in this thing. The initial memory loss was catastrophic enough. Anna drew in a shuddering breath. On top of that, your short-term memory seems to be deteriorating as well. And Nedra couldn't find any words to lessen Anna's distress. I did manage to create an emergency memory palace for you after the shooting, Anna explained. I made some modifications to the dream machine. I'm hoping I can teach your brain to bypass the damaged area. Hoping, Nedra echoed woodenly. You already tried, but it didn't work. It works, Anna was quick to object. As long as you're hooked to the machine. Oh, sweetie, how many times? Nedra wondered. How many times had this conversation played out? How many times had Anna strapped her into this infernal contraption, hoping for the best, only to be disappointed? You can't keep doing this, Nedra breathed. This is insane. Insane? I'll tell you what's insane. Anna's eyes flashed. She stood, reached out to check the IV line. Taking a bullet, no, 2 bullets meant for me. And Nedra's mind shot back to the deranged man who had charged into the dance hall earlier. That was him, the shooter? That animal, Anna fumed bitterly. I'll make him suffer for the rest of his miserable existence. Her words sent a chill down Nedra's spine. So you're a law unto yourself now? Anna whirled around. That man killed his entire family. It was the law that you loved so much that let him get away with it. And then he came to Bitter, demanding that I free him of the memories of slaughtering his wife and children. And when I refused, you still can't. That man deserves his comeuppance, Anna snapped. And Nedra sighed. There was never any point in arguing with her whenever she got like this. I'm not giving up, Anna declared flatly, changing the IV fluid. I'm not. Don't I have some say in this? Nedra's words trailed away, drowsiness smothering her voice. Get some sleep, she heard Anna say softly. I just need to run a few more diagnostics. Nedra woke up in her office chair. Good God, she groaned. Had she really spent the whole night here again? She started to stretch, twisting around to get the kinks out of her back. And she stopped midway. On the desk before her was a packet containing 2 blue pills. And she picked up the packet, spun it around between her fingers. What exactly would these be for? She murmured to herself. For your headache, came a low, mellow voice, which had the private detective looking up sharply. The woman sitting on the sofa on the other side of the room, on the other side of the room, was dark and petite. She was wearing a black and silver high-waisted shorts with suspenders and a white blouse with ruffles at the throat. She sported silvery fairy wings. Her curly mass of hair was electric blue. And you would be? Nedra inquired, forcing a polite half smile. The woman smiled, though somehow she seemed so very sad. She crossed the distance between them and sat in the chair across from Nedra. My name, she said, is Anna. I came here to ask for your help. And Nedra shivered slightly, overcome by a strange sense of déjà vu. Yeah? You see, Anna leaned forward, trapping Nedra with her desperate, hypnotic gaze. I don't have any beautiful memories. The end.
Wow.
What a ride that was.
Yeah, I love the voice. I just love the voice.
Oh my gosh. So beautiful and so sad. Ugh.
Glad you like it.
Sorry, sometimes we just need to take a few seconds to let the stories soak in afterward. Daniel, I feel like we had two stories about challenging today. Challenging assumptions, challenging reality,
Yeah,
challenging authority,
absolutely.
but they were so different,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so wonderful. It's like looking at a jeweler's case when you can see two beautiful gemstones, different settings right next to each other, but they're both so wonderful.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you. I shouldn't babble. We've been here a while already. Thank you for bearing with our technical difficulties earlier. Next week, we are continuing our sponsorship from the letter M. We have E.M. Markoff and Anya Martin. I did not plan that, I swear to you. And you can keep up to date about upcoming authors at storyhour2020.com and see any programs you may have missed at the Story Hour page on Facebook. Tonya, Tom, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us tonight.
Most welcome. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
Yes, what she said.
Well, I hope you'll both come back on some night when Zoom and the internet are more cooperative. And all of you who've been here with us tonight, all of you who are watching it at some other time, thank you. Thank you for joining Daniel, my co-host, and our readers in sharing the fictive dream together.
Thanks, everybody.
An hour.
Thanks for doing this, guys. It's really been great.
I'll be back, but I'll be in the audience next time.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.